Hello everyone, welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to organize transactions that you downloaded from either a credit card company or a bank into subtotals. This technique may be useful for your other applications as well. Let's get started. The first step is to open a new worksheet. I'm going to use a Google Sheet. You can use similar techniques in Excel. They'll be slightly different, but you can probably find video online to show you how to do that in Excel. But Google Sheet is free and available to everyone. So this is what I will use to demonstrate this technique in this video. So the first thing you want to do is to give your file a name so that you don't forget. So this, you can call this your do-it-yourself spending tracker. You can use any name you like, of course. I like to assign names to different things so that it's easier for me to understand. On this page, I'm going to assign my categories. So here are the spending categories that you have decided. For the example of Maya and Isis in the textbook, we have decided the categories will include housing, car loan payment, student loan payment, utilities, and so forth. So here are all the categories. I can make this bold to make sure that this to highlight this as the title. You can change the length of the column by putting your cursor here. When it becomes an arrow, just double click on it and you'll extend the column width to accommodate all your entries. So I have put in the spending categories, and notice that this is from row 2 all the way through row 14. Next, I'm going to add another page. And this is where I'm going to put in all the downloaded transactions. And the format of what you get from your bank may look slightly different, but they will be similar. So this is what I downloaded from the credit card company. Again, you can either download this or you can even keep track of it on your own day by day if you so wish. The next step is to assign categories to what you have downloaded. And here is the trick. Rather than typing in those names one by one, you can actually have Google help you. To do that, I'm going to highlight all the cells that I have downloaded transactions. You can have more. That's not the important part. So highlighted all this area. So all the cells in the column that you have next to the transactions that you have downloaded. Go to the data option and go to data validation. Over here in the data validation rules, select add a rule, and you're applying to the range. Notice that this is already where we have highlighted. So when you have this highlighted, to select the data validation rules is easier. If you forget to highlight it, you can always go back. For the criteria, this is the important part. For the criteria, you want it to be dropped down from a range. Okay. And the range you want, so click on here, select data range. So click on this symbol. And then click to activate this data entry area. Click on the categories tab and then select the category that you have included, that you have typed in earlier. So you want the criteria to be the same as what you have entered earlier. Select OK and you're done. Now let's go back to the transactions. And if you click on here, so this is a payment is not one of our expenses. So nature channel, you click on this. Nature channel is a leisure. All you have to do is click on that. And then grocery mark, we know that's grocery. Again, this is food and grocery. So you don't have to do any typing. You just select the category, and you can see how fast this is and how easy this is. So as you enter all of this, so now you have selected and identified categories for each expenses. The last step is to compute the subtotal. To do that, we need to create a single subtotal for each of these categories. The easiest way to do that is just copy them from what we have created. So we're going to go to the categories page. One thing that if you don't know this, to highlight everything you need, instead of using the mouse, you can use your keyboard. If you hold down the Shift key and move your arrow key, you can highlight everything you need, and you may have better control over that than using your mouse. To copy, we do Control C, or you can select Edit Copy. And then over here, we'll put in just paste. So here are the spending categories that we just copy over. Once again, if you move your arrow key until it becomes, or your mouse until it becomes 2 arrow key, you can double click and extend the column width. We want to compute subtotal. The function that we're going to use is called SUMIF. To start any function in a spreadsheet, we start with the equal sign. And the function is SUMIF, so SIMIF. So this is the function we'll use. This function has 3 arguments. The first is the range, the second is the criterion, and the third is the sum range. So the first argument, range, is in your transaction area that contains the name of the categories. So again, I highlight all of this. Use the comma. So type comma, that will get to the second criteria. The second argument criteria is where the unique spending categories are. So again, hold down the Shift key and use the arrow key to highlight this. Comma. The last argument, sum range, is where the transaction contains the value. So the first transaction value is $4.99. So again, hold down the Shift key and use the arrow key to highlight all your transactions. So here is all the categories that you have identified. Now, to make life easy for us and saving time, we can change this formula slightly by making some of these cell reference absolute and other relative. So to make this into an absolute reference, we highlight the cell and then press F4, the function key F4. That will put $ in front of the column alphabet and the row number. You do it to the first criteria, or the first argument, and the third argument. So we keep the criterion without the $. So now our formula is done, and we can press enter. Okay, say, do you want to copy the formula for the rest? You can say yes, and you automatically copy this for you. Or you can do copy and paste on your own. So notice that it has sum up the total for utilities, for gas, and other options. This is a very short transaction history. It's just for 2 months. In fact, it's just 2 weeks, not 2 months. And that explains why it did not capture all the categories. But it's a small enough subtotal that you can manually check and see, does it add up all the gas expenses correctly? So you have gas of $32.13, and then you have gas again at $30.52. So that's $60.65. So that is a check. You can do the same thing for grocery. So whenever you're creating this for your own use, you may want to do this. You may want to test on a small sample to make sure that the calculation is correct before you apply it to a whole year's worth of transaction. Another analysis that you can do is to compute each spending category as a percentage of your total income or as a percentage of your total spending. So if you have your total spending here, we can simply add up the total, and you can compute this as a percentage. Again, we can make this a absolute reference as the denominator. So we'll divide each item by the total. We can make this a little bit easier to read by changing this to a percentage. And you can make this a little bit better looking by making this bold and changing the alignment. Feel free to play around with all these other options. So here it becomes very clear. Leisure is the biggest spending category during this time, and followed by food and grocery. You can do the same thing for your own spreadsheets. This is a rather advanced technique in spreadsheet analysis, and it is optional. You do not have to use this for your own assignment, but if you choose to, this is a great tool that you may find useful in other areas of your life too. This ends the video here. See you soon.